Hi, I'm Jeremy Rugerberg. Thanks for joining the show. What you're about to see is the shortened version of the full-length interview. Coconut Grove fire incident, and you're familiar with that, of course.
Absolutely.
Can
Good
you
for you.
can you share a little more about that to the physician or to the nurse who is like burnt out in China? What were you doing in China? Let's talk real quick. Fred Mullins, you're rewriting the Bible. What advice would you give a handsome person like myself, just in life? If you'd like to see more of the interview, please go to our Patreon page. Information is in the show notes. Now, let's get to the show. All right, thanks for joining us on the show. Today, we're honored to have Dr. David Herndon with us. Many of you have heard that name, and I recently just got to meet him probably 2 or 3 months ago, and I could not wait to have him on the show. So, Dr. Herndon, welcome to the studio.
Thanks a lot. It's my honor to be here, sir.
How did you get into medicine?
Well, I was born to a family that was involved with medicine. My father was a bone doctor, headed an orthopedic surgery program in Cleveland as at Case Western Reserve. He had fascinating people working for him, researchers, excellent clinicians, characters of all sort that roamed in and out of our lives, and they stimulated and excited and fascinated me, and I'm sure that drove me a long way towards going into medicine. But when I went to school at Case Western Reserve, it was free for one thing, but it was also a great school, and I supported myself some by being a librarian at the medical research library there, and I every night got to look up interesting research questions for scientists and for just clinicians interested in rare diseases or diseases they hadn't come across very often, and became fascinated by medicine and its complexities and the characters that tried to take people and make them better.
Yeah, I love that. And spending so much time with people in the healthcare space, especially doctors, I find that one of the things that unifies doctors, besides the fact that they're always right, is the fact that
they think they're always right.
Exactly, is the fact that they're just naturally curious people. They love researching. They love finding solutions to problems, and I think that's wonderful. So, it seems like early on you had a big inclination that you wanted to learn, to research, to find answers. And then you have the patient care side of it, which is kind of the boots on the ground, rubber meets the road. I'm actually with the patient. Which part of that did you enjoy the most when you were practicing?
Well, I enjoyed both incredibly. I mean, excellence in clinical care and bonding with patients and making patients better has got to be the soul of it, to drive you with passion into such a deep business. But I also was driven to investigation and research and making things better for everybody as well as that individual in front of me, and sort of took every day as a scientific challenge or a detective challenge or how can I make things better for this individual? How can I make things better for the area I'm working in for all burn patients as I'm working with now?
Have you always been in the burn field?
No, I was originally going to be a heart doctor, and I went to Duke in a little north of here. They made a lot of heart surgeons back in the day, and I was going to be one of them, but had an obligation to the military because of when I was born and what was going on at those particular times. And at the end of the Berry Plan, where physicians could defer themselves to a certain extent, but eventually fall into the maw of the great military complex, I fell into it and went to Fort Sam Houston in San Antonio, where I was exposed to burn patients at the end of the Vietnam War. And that's where I got hooked in burns.
Gotcha. Now, I want to go back to the Coconut Grove fire incident, and you're familiar with that, of course.
Absolutely.
Can you
kind of
can you share a little more about that and kind of how that really set the stage for, at least in the United States?
Well, the Coconut Grove was a bar in Boston, and it burned and didn't have really adequate exits, and many victims occurred, and they were distributed to the major Boston hospitals where young investigators were challenged with a massive number of patients all at one time, young patients with devastating diseases, high mortality rates. But these were great young men and great middle-aged men and some women, very few, who were interested in science and as well as in patient care. And they chronicled everything about these patients and tried to make things better for them, observed how much fluid was required to keep their blood pressure up, to make their urine output appropriate, looked at how much food they required, what their metabolic diseases were, looked at how their lungs worked and pathophysiology of the patient population, and made great improvements in the treatment of burns by focused scientific accounts of all of the patients they took care of and bringing observations together to try to improve burn care.
It seems like that incident happened in the right place at the right time. You have a book that people refer to as the Burn Bible. It's actually called Total Burn Care. And, just because you're ambitious, there's 5 editions to it. Congratulations, by the way, for keep updating and putting this thing out. How does it feel to have a book that is so widely esteemed and utilized?
Well, it's a great sense of satisfaction and pride, and I'm very, very happy that it has had an impact, and it is still used by most burn care individuals around the world. It's translated into a bunch of languages and has carried me throughout the world as a teacher, I think, through its impact.
You could say, being called the Burn Bible, that people use it religiously.
Well,
is that a true statement?
I think it is one of the major textbooks in an area, and it's an orphan area, though there are many, many burn patients throughout the world.
What a dreary day in Augusta, Georgia.
Yeah, it's like Cleveland, Ohio.
I don't know if that was an insult or not.
That's where I came from.
Okay, nice.
That's lovely.
Yeah. What are you in the mood for today? I'm going to do the hot chocolate.
I'll have a hot chocolate. That sounds great.
2 hot chocolates. Cheers. This is some good hot chocolate.
Thank you, sir. Delicious.
So, you know, I don't know if you know this, but there is a secret book of ancient burns. I was able to go down to the Augusta Richmond County Library and procure this type of book. And I've actually have it here with me.
Outstanding.
So I'd like to read you some of them, and, you know, based on your professionalism, your experience with burns, burn care, and since you've wrote the Burn Bible, to know your opinion if this is a first-degree burn, a second-degree burn, or a third-degree burn.
Gotcha.
All right, let's open. I earmarked a few of these.
They're assessed by a clinician.
I envy people who have never met you.
That I've read, it's usually
First degree.
First degree.
So the example of a kid that is
Fair enough.
using all the right? So you measure
Maybe if you eat all that makeup on your face, you will actually be beautiful on the inside too.
your count and the number of
That's a third degree. That's mean.
do that to like establish
The ancient people were really mean.
whatever intervention, and then you start to measure.
You're kind of like Rapunzel, except instead of letting down your hair, you let down everyone in your life.
Patients, what are you thinking that could be measurable or observable?
Well, second degree, but mean.
I mean second degree.
Yeah.
Let's keep going. You're impossible to underestimate.
What a lot of people do in these
First degree.
studies.
That one kind of is hard to understand. I want to hang out on the term Burn Bible. I just thought it was very interesting that in the original Bible, there's a lot of burning going on too. So is
Well,
but this is burn.
burning
There's
is
burn
a-
care going on in both Bibles, so this is pretty cool.
yeah, well, burn injuries occurred throughout all time. I'm not sure if burning books is exactly the same, or tablets, or bushes.
Or souls, right? What is it like to write a book, namely an academic book?
Writing an academic book mainly means bringing your friends to the table and getting experts in every area of the discipline that you work in to help you to try to teach through that medium people around the world, to inspire people around the world to better treat in areas of their expertise. So it's really bringing your friends to a table is what editing a book is, though I wrote many of the chapters too. In the original, I've been writing fewer of them as time goes on because of the proliferation of young, brilliant individuals that can do better than me.
How do you stay in a posture of humility and still learning?
Well, I think humility is absolutely key to patient care. You have to be empathetic and understanding and sensitive to others, and that is basically humility, not be all caught up with your objectives, but more caught up with their objectives and needs, and organize your efforts to try to make other people better in one way or another.
Mm-hmm. So is there also a sense of there's always something new to learn? I haven't exhausted this topic yet. There's always something new.
Every day is a new experiment, if you will, or is a new potential for discovery. Every patient's problem should fit into a series. Every patient's issues should be explored and significantly impact the next patient's care.
Have you ever been close to quitting?
Well, I've been challenged by administrative obstacles, like all of us. I did retire, and
Congratulations on that. That's a step towards That's not quitting. That's not the same thing.
But it was temporary. It was temporary. And I moved from being a director of a clinical research institute in Texas to coming here, try to contribute to the development of Burn Reconstructive Centers of America and their vision of burn care throughout the United States, of multiple centers, to be able to take care of 20% of the burn patients in the United States is a remarkable potential to grow that.
The
even
BRCA
larger.
takes care of 20% of all the burns in the United States?
Yeah, pretty close, but
Wow.
I'm hoping it's going to be more. I don't think it's quitting. I think it's finding new challenges.
What would you say to the physician or to the nurse who is like burnt out and they've been doing this a decade or two and they just feel burned out?
Find new challenges. Find a new perspective.
Mm-hmm. What has been the impetus to finding a new perspective?
Well, I think stepping back and letting your mind re-explore and develop new challenges. It is the same thing you've always been doing, but there are many different ways of tackling each problem, many different ways of tackling each day. And you can rejuvenate or regrow just by taking a new perspective and taking every day as a challenge and studying every patient and studying every group of patients and studying every problem. If you get tired of one problem, go to another problem.
So then how important is hobbies and interests outside of the workplace?
Well, fortunately, I was able, through the study of burns, to be able to travel around the world. And I get reinvigorated every time I meet a different group of people approaching life from a different way, and have gone literally to hundreds of different countries and visited 100 different ways of treating patients and treating each other and making food and making fun. And to me, that has been incredibly invigorating.
I'm sure deeply rewarding.
Yes, sir.
For sure. So let's talk about the other countries. You and I connected over China.
We did indeed.
You were there circa late 1980s through 1989. Well, through the incident that happened in 1989.
Tiananmen Square.
Mm-hmm. And I was there my first time, not even 10 years after, on 1997, 98. So let's talk, how did you end up in China? What were you doing in China?
Well, the Chinese were pioneers in burn care. They were the first ones to make huge burns able to live. They had techniques of taking very small pieces of skin and laboriously separating them into postage stamp size grafts, which they could take a small donor site and expand it widely. They also had a technique that they pioneered of using skin from other people who have died, cadaver skin, to cover massively open wounds. They removed burn wounds early, covered it with cadaver skin, and then placed little postage stamps of the patient's own skin in the cadaver skin and in little slices at intervals of 1 inch or 2 inches or sometimes even 4 or 5 inches. And remarkably, these little postage stamps grew underneath the cadaver skin and came together and cured some massive burns in the early 80s, late 70s, before this had ever been accomplished in anywhere in the Western world. And I heard of it from one of the great Boston professors, Dr. Jack Burke, who was then trying to save massive burn patients with such similar techniques. But he suggested that I travel to China and as you remember, Richard Nixon developed a rapprochement with the Chinese, and there was a brief cultural thaw of geopolitical interest that I was able to exploit, at least for the benefit of Burns, to make a cultural exchange in that area, and have maintained connections since the early 80s through now with Chinese burn scientists and clinicians, and have traveled to China almost yearly since 1980. When I first went there, they were all in blue suits, riding bicycles and living 5 families to a house, 1 kitchen, 1 toilet for 30 or 40 in very cold conditions in the winter. When I first visited, I almost froze. But they were remarkable physicians, clinicians. In austere circumstances, accomplished miracles that they have developed, and the whole society has remarkably evolved over that period of time until instead of blue suits, they're wearing Armani suits or suits manufactured in China of equal luxury.
That's
and,
right.
Skyscrapers developed all over, the massive transportation systems, infrastructure that is an envy, should be.
Next one.
They get a prompt in their phone.
You're not the dumbest person on the planet, but you sure better hope that they don't die.
Which I guess works.
I'll give that a second degree.
By the way, you can use some of these in your next edition of the Burn Bible.
Thank you so much. I'll do that.
And royalties are expected.
Yes, sir.
Next burn. If you were an inanimate object, you'd be a participation trophy.
First degree.
Okay, fair enough. You're not pretty enough to be that dumb.
Like assessing how much they're guarding or.
Second degree.
Nice.
Yeah.
Take my lowest priority
Yeah.
and put yourself beneath it.
Also do something like heart rate or something.
Second degree.
Okay. Let's talk real quick, Fred Mullins. Your recent role at the JMS Burn Center. We did a special on Fred when he passed away a little over a year ago. But
Tragic.
what was your impression about him? I mean, we're in Augusta. He is an Augustan, and we have our Augusta heroes. But I didn't know Fred before I started this magazine, and he was on my 3rd issue. So I was blessed to have met him late in 2017 for the first time. He gave me his cell phone number like he does with everybody. If you need something, call me. What was your impression of Fred, and what kind of legacy did he build for the JMS?
Well, Fred is an amazing Augustan, an amazing individual. He's an everyman. He's somebody who you could meet in the street and think of as your neighbor, and he would treat you as such. He would smile and be gregarious and give you his phone number. But he was a work machine. He would take care of immense numbers of people, immense number of patients, and nothing gave him greater joy than to be curing patients in the operating room, to be a surgeon, but his great skill was in developing systems to bring patients from all parts of the South, begin with. A great man, great organizer, and he grew the excellent burn care facilities that were here in Augusta to a national system through his vision. He gave his phone number not just to you. He gave his phone number to the EMTs in Las Vegas, in Idaho Falls, in Mississippi, throughout the South, throughout Texas, Florida. There must have been 5 million people who had his phone number that he would answer the phone call, particularly of any acute burn incident anywhere in the United States, and he would have that patient picked up within 10 minutes.
I know we talked before, there are specific men and women who are talented in the patient care part or talented in the research and clinical aspect. But then you have the business development system side. And it seems like Fred was kind of that Renaissance man that was just able to play every instrument in the orchestra.
He was a remarkable individual who had incredible abilities to play every instrument, or at least conduct every instrument.
Let me ask you this, based on things that you've learned from him and watching him and observing, have you incorporated that into your recent times with JMS, or as you're helping to expand the Burn and Reconstruction Center of America, the clinics around the United States?
Well, I think Fred really inspired me to change careers or change places or
come out of
change
retirement,
retire into
something different.
Retire into something different, transition. Yeah. His vision really was to improve burn care everywhere in the United States through better systems, better availability, better affability, giving service where service had not been.
One thing that I really love about the Burn Foundation of America, which I believe is something that Fred helped to start, and people don't realize when burns occur, a lot of, like severe burns occur, a lot of times they're in the home. People's homes have burned down. That means their clothes are gone, their photos are gone, everything is gone. And so they all of a sudden now they have physical trauma, they've got emotional trauma, and they have to be relocated to somewhere like Augusta in order to have the great care. But while, let's say, their son or daughter may be in the hospital, and the recovery for burns takes a while. And surgeries typically are multiple surgeries over a long period of time. They don't have anywhere to stay. Where do you stay?
They're devastated. They're lost. They're homeless.
Exactly.
It's one of the most difficult psychological traumas, not just for the victim, not just for the patient who is truly devastated, but for the whole family, for are without home, homeless.
Exactly, homeless, and they're in a new location where they don't know anybody. And so the great thing that the Burn Foundation of America does is they provide lodging, they provide food, they provide clothes, they provide things to do.
Psychological support.
Absolutely. We just got a few more. You are the pizza burn on the roof of the world's mouth.
That's pretty bad. Third degree, I guess.
Third degree sick burn. You are so ugly that when you were born, the doctor slapped your mom.
That's second degree. She would have slapped him back.
You make me wish I had more middle fingers.
Second degree.
All right, let's keep moving.
Where in the world did you get these?
I can't tell you. It's an ancient book. The ancient people were far more cruel and ruthless than you and I are today. I don't have enough time or crayons to explain this to you.
First degree.
First degree, yeah. You remind me of Davis Malik.
Well, that's a compliment.
Did you hear that, Davis? And that concludes our sick burns.
Thank you very much for that.
Yep. Cheers to that.
Love the hot chocolate.
Ah, I think I burned the roof of my mouth.
I can operate.
Is that a sick burn?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's do a few more questions. These are fun personality questions. What are some of your hobbies and interests outside of work?
Well, as I said, travel is one of my great interests. I also have a farm right now, and I raise apples and peaches and pears and plums. And like to hunt deer occasionally.
So you raise fruit and you kill the deer.
Well, the deer like the fruit, and we harvest a deer or two out of hundreds.
You're rewriting the Bible. You should put something really cheeky in there, like the book of Second Opinions, chapter 1, verse 3.
Not bad.
What's the last book that you really got into?
Well, I'm a voracious reader, and I've recently been reading Anna Karenina and King Ludwig's Ghost was history about Ludwig of Belgium, who subjugated the Congo in a very devastating and terrible way. What a rape of mankind.
Yeah, we call them asshats.
There you go.
What exactly makes you laugh?
You do. I laugh most of the day.
Yeah.
You have to have a good sense of humor.
You absolutely do. What are you most grateful for today? And we'll finish up with this question, but what are you most thankful for?
Well, I'm most thankful that I've been able to make an impact in improving burn care, to improve the outcome of patients with devastating injuries like burns, not just for an individual, but I think all patients who receive that injury now and hopefully in the future.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And I apologize. This is really the last question, but I'm going to really need your vulnerability for this one. Is what advice would you give a handsome person like myself, just in life?
Well, to take every day as a challenge and make a study of that day and improve what you've encountered for the future.
Yeah. I appreciate that. Well, listen, Dr. Herndon, thank you so much for being on the show. It has been such an honor that you would fly all the way from Ohio to leave your island off on Lake Erie to come all the way down to Augusta, Georgia. We appreciate you being on here. I appreciate everything that you do. I'm speaking for many, many, many people, not just in America, but overseas, to say thank you for all the work. Thank you for your curiosity. Thank you for the discipline of writing and rewriting your book 5 times and about to be a 6th time.
Six.
That's right. So we're really excited for that. And I look forward to what you have in the future. I will be honest with you. I'm not going to be reading that book, but if you write another book it's probably a little easier to read and the pictures are a little more fun to look at, I will be happy to read that book.
I think that can be arranged, and we'll do it. It's a great honor to be here today and talk with you and be in Augusta and be part of BRCA.
Great. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of BRCA.
All best.
Okay.